Smarmy, full of unction. Unction, anointing or soothing words or thought, fervor of words or tone, imitation of this, affected enthusiasm. Unctuous, full of unction, greasy. Why do I bring up unction and smarminess when playing this game today? 7 Wonders Duel is the Pantheon Expansion. Why do I bring that up? Well, that is because that's the way I feel when I play 7 Wonders Duels. It's a bit smarmy. At the end of the game, every time, without fail, I have lost the game because I thought I was going to win, but then again, Carla does something crazy and causes the win of the game because she's way smarter at that than I am. I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got enough points to win, but she can't touch me on military, and I don't think she's got me on science, and she wins on science. Or, you know what, I think I blocked enough cards, and she can't get the military. Nope, I just lost on military. No matter what I do, I lose, but I have this, I try my best not to appear smarmy. I try my best to just kind of, not kind of grin or be excited about it, because this game is rough on your marriage. It's a game, it's called Duel, for goodness sakes. You're trying to play against the other person, so it's hard to not play dirty and cutthroat and all that sort of stuff. So let's take a look now. What comes in this expansion and should you buy this expansion?
So let's talk about what comes with the expansion. All of these things right here come with the expansion. So you get a couple new science tokens, you get a couple new cards to replace guild cards. You actually don't use the guild cards, you use these Egyptian Grand Temple, Roman Grand Temple, all the different Grand Temple cards instead of using guilds, and we'll talk about more about what these do in a little bit. You also get all these deity cards, which we'll talk about in just a second, but you also get the board. And so the way this works is you're going to seed this with these different deity cards going around the edges, right? And these deities have different, single-use powers. For instance, Nisaba does something. They all do different things described in the rule books. For instance, Tanit just gives you 12 cards. But you'll notice that the way this is lined up, you have different costs with different little arrows. I don't know if you can see those arrows quite on there, but different costs with different arrows. So depending on where you place these cards, it's going to be more expensive for you and less expensive for your enemy, and vice versa. The way that works is by these little tokens here. There's an additional step to the layout that looks something like this in the setup. And you can see the little tokens that are mentioned on there on these different cards here, 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 and here. You would put some of these tokens face down like this on the backs of the cards. When they're face down, the person who clears up that card to where it gets flipped over gets to take the token. When the token is taken, you would flip it over and see, okay, this one is Mesopotamian, I believe. Yeah, Mesopotamian. So then you would go to the stack, you would take the top 2 cards off the Mesopotamian deck, and you'd pick between them, there's 3 of each, and you'd put the other one back on the deck. So this is Enki or Nisaba. This one lets you add 2 of the tokens to his card, giving you basically, I think it's 7 to choose from at that point, and then whichever one you don't choose gets discarded. Hers I'll explain a little bit later. All these different deities do different sorts of things, and they're all have to do with, commerce is the yellow, red is war, gray is kind of the more artistic goods and things like that, and wonders. Greeks are, I think, more about just straight points and things like that, or just discarding cards, getting cards for free, getting rid of other cards. So they do interesting things. And then there's the door. Now this concept is part of one of the other 2 new things, which are 2 of the wonders, and the other wonder is over there. This is the sanctuary, and then I think it's the divine theater. The divine theater lets you do this same power, but this one allows you to do it at wherever it's costed times 2. So let's just say you're on this side. It would cost you 6 normally to take this deity. Well, it just so happens the door's cost is 2 times where it's at. So this would actually cost you 12 coins. Well, what does it do? It lets you turn over the top card of the rest of the different deity races here, Egyptians, Greeks, Phoenicians, Mesopotamians, and Romans. It lets you turn those over and choose one of them to activate for free, which is huge because these cards do some really great things. And then once you take this, obviously it comes off the Pantheon track. And that's it. That's all the new things. Oh, I should say there's a couple new components too, like Medusa. This is Minerva's token. Basically, it acts like a buffer zone. You would sit it here or somewhere, and when it gets to that point, let's just say they were moving 3 spaces, instead of going 1, 2, 3, it would go 1, 2 and stop. This would come off the board and get discarded. The one other thing are these favor tokens here. These work the same way as the other tokens. In the second phase, you would put 3 of them out just like that randomly. They do things that basically it's just a -2, a -3, and a -4 to the cost of a deity. And that's it. That is the entire setup. Here's how it actually plays in practice though. So that's basically it. You have the setup that looks like this. You would have in the second phase on the different deities that you have picked from the first phase up here at the top in the deity track. Now this is neat because it comes with a little piece of cardboard. I love that. And it just fits right over the top of your old board. So it's an expansion that doesn't add a whole lot to get in the way. In fact, it's an expansion that, what I love about it, it adds basically an action. It adds one action and a few other different elements, but it also adds another win condition. Now, not exactly a win condition, but kind of close. For instance, this card, you take out your guild cards and you put these 3 Grand Temple cards in. If you have the symbol of these tokens that we talked about earlier, of that card, you can get these temples for free. But if you have one of these Grand Temples, it's 5 points, 2 is 12, 3 is 21 points. So again, it's kind of like the science and the battle cards. If you mitigate your actions just right and you watch the other person what they're going to do and you push and pull just enough to where you pull the right cards and they pull the wrong cards, you could potentially win with a 21-point swing from these cards. But as always, there's so many little twists and tweaks and things about this version that I love. For instance, Nisaba. Didn't see this coming earlier, but this is why I lost, and this is where the smarmy comes in. So I had it where I was going to win based on points. I was going to destroy based on points. And I wasn't trying to gloat. I wasn't trying to be smarmy, but I had this idea of, well, I'm going to win on points no matter what. And then I saw Carla had 5 of the science symbols, right? And this card was here. And I thought, oh, good, it's my turn. I'm going to take that card, until I realized Nisaba was the only deity left up in the track to be used. Well, the problem is, once she's used, you take her little snake token and you put it over one of the opponent's cards and they get that symbol. You get that scientific symbol, which would have given Carla the 6 because the only symbol I had was the only symbol Carla was missing. So that is the second and third phases of how this plays. And let's talk about what I think about the expansion.
Well, I hope we answered that question that yes, you should buy this expansion. It's a little bit pricey. It's $20 is the best price for it, for a game that's not that expensive to start with, but it does add a lot. It adds an entire action to the game. You can use the Pantheons. That's the different deities and stuff like that. So that's a cool addition. Is it a must-play for this game? No, not at all. I think this game plays fine by itself, but is it an expansion where if you like Duel, should you get it? Absolutely. It's really, really good. And I probably won't play without it anymore. So I guess you could say it's a must-have, but it's such a good game by itself that it's one of those things where it doesn't have to have this to be a great game. Does that make sense? I hope so. Probably not, knowing me, but it is really great. So I won't play without it again. It's that good, and it's not much of a headache. Sometimes expansions, you start adding stuff, and you're like, good Lord, what do we have to do now? We have to add this, and this whole phase gets added. This turn is way longer now. There's a sideboard with Antarctica on it. All this sort of stuff happens. But that's not what this does. It adds a sideboard with 5 different cards and some actions and some guild cards, but it never feels intrusive or it never feels like it gets in the way because you don't have to do it. You don't have to use it at all. And that's what I really like about it. So go get yourself a copy of this expansion. Wonderful expansion. Repos Productions, Balza, and I think Faduti or Cathal, one of those guys worked on this with him, but fantastic game. One of my favorite games of all time, so I want to Duel anyway, but this expansion really adds a new level to it, and I hope to see more like this coming, where you can plug and play different expansions and have fun with it. So, until next time, whatever, this is Brian Drake with the latest retro. We'll see ya.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.